Hello, I'm Jeff Day. I'm Chair of the Best Practice Working Group at the IoT Security Foundation. I want to talk to you today about security best practice, specifically why we need security best practice, what it is, how we do it, and how the IoTSF can help you with this. In the final section of the talk, I will give you an overview of what guidance materials the IoTSF can offer you. So if you've not ever looked at our documentation before now, then this will be the perfect opportunity for me to introduce you to some of our work and how it may help you and your company. I'm going to start with a quote from a gentleman called Jeff Jarmock. He has held a number of security roles with companies such as Dell, NCC Group and now Salesforce, and is also on the guest review board for the Black Hat USA conferences. Back in 2016, he made this quote on Twitter. In a relatively short time, we've taken a system built to resist destruction by nuclear weapons and made it vulnerable to toasters. And I guess yes, he's probably about right with that statement. Okay, to be fair, the public internet of today is not designed by one committee with a defined set of requirements specifically aimed at protection from nuclear war. It's an open system with a multitude of protocols to help it operate, many of which are very insecure. To add to that, there are billions of devices, big and complex, small and simple, which are connected to the internet, many of which are insecure to a greater or lesser degree. So somehow we need to tame that. So why do we need security best practice? Well, just like any other environment in society, to ensure reliable and consistent operation and behaviour, we must put in place controls and measures. For example, when we go for surgery at the hospital, we expect the doctors and nurses to always work in a consistent, clearly defined and professional manner. That ensures the best outcomes for everyone. They do that by having the correct tools available for the job in hand and operate using industry-recognised best practices and processes. But occasionally we sadly see where these standards fall far below what is expected, and we see the unfortunate consequences of when that happens. Similarly, when you have your boiler serviced at home, you expect the gas engineer to do a proper job, whereby your boiler continues to work reliably and efficiently, and you don't perhaps suffer the consequences of carbon monoxide poisoning. And the same holds true for our own industry here today. Users of our IoT devices and services expect the solutions to be reliable and effective, just like those surgeons and gas engineers. Users of IoT expect their installations to not have undesirable outcomes. Would you use the products from a company where you previously had some kind of disaster, or would you go elsewhere? Of course, you would go elsewhere. As well as your company's reputation, there are legal requirements to satisfy. Increasingly, enforceable legislation is appearing around the world where failure to take good care of users' privacy and data can lead to heavy fines or even banning of specific devices or device types from whole countries or states. No company wants to suffer that, the ramifications for which can be huge for the company, including their customers, employees, and investors. So security best practice helps ensure your company can build secure, so our customers can buy secure and be secure, which can only help keep your business secure too. So what is security best practice? Well, as described in the previous examples, it's about putting in place the appropriate tools for the job in hand and implementing industry-recognised best processes and procedures. But what are these tools and practices, you may ask? And that is a fair question. Security can seem a mystery to many people, a dark art practiced by the knowledgeable few behind closed doors. But most of it isn't actually that dark. A lot of it is fairly straightforward once you understand what you're dealing with and know what your options are. But yes, agreed, you need someone to explain this to you in the first place. The first place to start is to understand what you're dealing with, then decide where you want to be, and after that, work out how you're going to get there. In high-level terms, this amounts to understanding all the data types you're processing, understand the legal requirements for processing those data types, and bear in mind these legal requirements may be regionally specific. Also consider your own company's moral compass. Would customers be happy to use your company's product or service, given the way you intend to use their data? Sooner or later, your customers will find out how you use their data, so are you okay with what they may feel about that? Only you can decide. Then secure the device to meet the aforementioned expectations and requirements. Make sure you properly manage who can and cannot get onto the device. Ensure its external connections are secure. If you're offering a centralized managed service or your devices periodically report home, make sure you know what's happening on the device when it's operating. Ensure it maintains a secure posture throughout a defined lifetime. All these points are our industry's equivalent of what a surgeon or a gas engineer should consider when they go about their own business. So how do you actually go about getting this process done? Well, you have two, maybe three options. One, pay for a consultant, designers, developers, etc. to do the security work for you. Two, do all or most of the work yourself. Or three, just do nothing. Okay, well let's eliminate option 3 right now. If we're going to do nothing, then we're on a road to disaster and we might as well just pack up and go home now. But I'm assuming by the very reason you're attending this conference means you don't want to do option 3 either. So great, let's ignore 3 and look at options 1 and 2. You could buy in all the consultancy and development work you need, but of course that will come at significant cost. This can be a too big a hurdle for small startups, and whatever the size of the company, there may be small margins to be made, so a big spend on security could break the cost model of production. As always, there's a balance to be made between security and cost. And only you can decide where you actually want to land between the two. Also, if someone else does your security for you, there is a risk you don't get to clearly understand your own security. This means in the future you may have to pay to have these experts come back in to resolve every security issue that emerges. Alternatively, you could consider doing most of the work yourself. If your designers and developers are worth their salt, this isn't insurmountable. You do the steps I outlined earlier by assessing what you need to achieve, do your research, find the right way to do your security, and then implement it. There is plenty of information on the internet. Research papers and training are available. You just need to go and find it. Check your progress, reviewing and testing as you go, and seriously consider having testing done by a professional third party to check your work. The important point to make here is to start thinking about security from day one. Do not try to add security in further down the line, as that will be more costly and probably won't be as effective. Always build in security from the very outset. Now, to be fair, the flip side of gathering all the research from the internet and elsewhere is which solutions and methods do you use? Where do you start and in which direction do you progress? You could end up with so many permutations and possibilities, it may become difficult to see the wood from the trees. So this is where the IoT Security Foundation's work may help you. At the IoTSF, we recognise there is a vast body of knowledge out there on the internet. Along with that, companies developing products have their own ways of working. differing levels of skills and resources, different levels of funding, and so on. So what we in the IoTSF cannot do is tell you specifically how to do things. In a given scenario, it is ultimately up to you how you want to operate. But what the IoTSF can offer is guidance, and what's more, it's free guidance. We are producing an ever-expanding range of material that will help support you in making decisions on how you want to develop your product. You could look upon our material as signposts. What we offer is guidance on how to approach a topic, what decisions you may need to make, and where you might find further information. So we won't tell you in detail how to achieve an end, that's your decision on how you actually want to do it. But we'll guide you in the approach you need to take. What is the best practice for the topic in hand? In this way, we can hopefully steer you along the right path towards your security goals, allowing you to make your own decisions as you progress along the way. In the final part of this talk, let me give you an overview of what materials the IoTSF currently offer. I can't do it all justice in 20 minutes. Each offering would need a whole presentation of its own. But let me give you a flavour of what we have, and I'll leave you to explore further in your own time. Please see our website for the full set, which is absolutely free of charge to download and use. So we have, for example, Establishing Principles for Internet of Things Security. This is a short summary document identifying the key technical features you need to consider when designing a new IoT product. IoT Security Architecture and Policy for the Home focuses on solution providers supporting a minimum expectation of security and trust in home IoT environments. Our very active Smart Buildings Working Group have produced a number of papers. This one shown here, Can You Trust Your Smart Building?, raises awareness of the security issues associated with internet-connected smart building systems and devices. We have a Vulnerability Disclosure Guide. This is a guide for device manufacturers on how researchers and other sources can submit bug reports where they have identified a vulnerability in the manufacturer's product. This isn't as straightforward a subject as you might imagine, and getting this process wrong can cause a lot of damage on the internet, or indeed to the manufacturers themselves. So this document is well worth a read. The final two sets of documents I want to focus on today, although there are many others available, are our IoT Security Compliance Framework and our Secure Design Best Practice Guides. The Compliance Framework leads its users through a structured process of questioning and evidence gathering. This ensures suitable security mechanisms and practices are identified and implemented. The framework could be used early in the design process to capture all the security areas that need to be considered, both for the device itself and for the business people and processes that work around it. It will help your company make informed security choices, guiding you through a comprehensive requirements checklist. Later in the development process, it'll help you gather evidence that can be used to declare conformance with best practice to your customers and other stakeholders. It's quite a comprehensive piece of work, to be fair, but as I said earlier, security must be designed in from the outset, and this document will steer you on how and where to do that. And finally, our best practice guides, commonly referred to as the BPGs, is currently a set of 14 different guides, each of which is on a single page focusing on a specific security topic. The BPGs are aimed primarily at technical designers and developers, but not exclusively. They cover topics such as device physical security, secure boot, credential management, encryption, software updates, and even side channel attacks. The BPGs are proving extremely popular. I know earlier this year these were being downloaded worldwide at something like 300 downloads per month. In the BPG example shown here, we have an introductory paragraph on application security. It then, in this case, lists 13 headline statements or requirements that you should follow in order to help secure your application. The wording is very precise and concise to make the point specific and hopefully uncomplicated. We've deliberately written each BPG in this way to give a set of clear headline statements of things you need to do. Now, of course, not everyone understands the detail behind these requirements, so we are in the progress of writing supplementary articles on our website, which go into more detail behind the thinking of each of these statements, aiming to clarify your thinking and help understand why it is important that you give each requirement its due consideration. At the bottom of the list, a link takes you to these supplementary articles on our website. Now, the preceding one-line statements are each telling you to consider an activity or action you need to undertake, but we have not actually told you how to do that action. You may recall earlier in this talk, I said the IoTSF offers guidance on how to exercise security best practice. And I did also say we don't tell you how to actually implement that best practice, because there are many factors that could influence how you finally decide to tackle that particular action. So right at the bottom of the page are a number of links to articles and papers published on the internet. These are written by third parties, completely independent from the IoTSF, where we consider these articles are examples of best practice. Some are papers from well-established security bodies such as NIST or OWASP, and others are less well-known security entities. But they are all trusted sources of good, responsible security practice. So all in all, the BPGs identify key activities you must undertake when addressing a range of security topics, and then go on to point out other sources of material on the internet that may help you do this. You can look on the BPGs as a set of signposts to useful information to help effectively address specific security challenges. We believe that if you implemented all of these security requirements, your solution would be resistant to maybe 98% of all the common vulnerabilities out there in the wild. The links to other third-party sources of material are given in good faith, remembering there are many more resources available out there than we have specifically highlighted. And of course, at the end of the day, it is down to you to read and digest this material and for you to decide what is appropriate for your own specific scenarios. The production of these BPGs and other documents is managed by a small number of dedicated working groups made up of highly experienced security professionals from the IoTSF membership. We also receive contributions from other professional bodies. Periodically, we review our documents to keep them as up-to-date as we can in this ever-evolving industry. So if you've never looked at our documentation before, do please take a look, and if you are using any of our documentation, then do periodically check in case there are any recent updates. If you would like to be involved in the IoT Security Foundation and perhaps contribute to the industry body of knowledge, then why not contact us via our website and join our membership. Also, if you feel there is an IoT security topic you think we should take a look at for the benefit of our industry, then again, do contact us and let us know. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found this helpful.